pretty quick yesterday. Just want to review just a little bit. The Gemara asked the question. That the Mishnah tells us that the shliach, the agent, has to say b'fonei nechtav, b'fonei nechtam. It was written before me and it was signed before me. According to Rabbah, what does b'fonei nechtam mean? Nechtav. It was written lishma. It was signed lishma. Right? That's the meaning. The Gemara says, so what does he say lishma? Because we're concerned that because if he omits one of the words that he's supposed to say, it's not a valid confirmation on the get. So we say 2 words, a person will not delete a word, will not omit a word. 3 words, there's a chance he may not see the 3rd word. So we look at the writing and the signing as 2 separate areas of statement. So he has 2 and 2. He'll follow the instruction perfectly. 3, we're concerned. He may leave out one of the words, and therefore it's not valid. Okay, that we have the Gemara. So Gemara says, but factually, what is he attesting to the fact? That it was written lishma, it was signed lishma. So Gemara asks a question. According to Rabbi Meir, the Rabbi Meir is of the opinion, Eidei Chasima Karsi, that what establishes the document as a viable document for divorce? It's the signatures of the witnesses. It's not the writing of the get. When the Torah says v'kosav lo sefer krisus, he should write for a writ of termination. What is that? That's chasima. That's the final. What gives it? Which establishes as that document, that's the signatures. So if that's the case, v'kosav lo sefer krisus, that means v'chosam. When the signatures, the witnesses sign, they have to sign specifically for this couple.
Kosav means chosam.
Means v'chosam. Rebbe Lezer says no. Kosav, it reads literally what it means. You write. It should be written lishma. Torah is not speaking about. The Torah doesn't speak about having witnesses on a document. The document assumes its status based on the writing of the document. So you test. So, and seemingly the only 2 opinions we have is either Rebbe Lezer, or Rebbe Meir. Either it's Eidei Chasima or Eidei or Ksiva. But yet the shliach, he testifies, and he has tested the lishma, not only of the writing, even the signing. Who do we attribute the Mishnah to? That was the Gemara's question. Okay? Good. So the Gemara says, Ira Meir, we'll start from the Amud Beis, take a moment to just go through it again. Ira Meir, Chasima boy, Chasiva boy. According to Rabbi Meir says, one only has to sign it lishma, one does not have to write, it does not have to be written lishma, ditnan. And kosvin the mechuber, lekarka. One does not have to write the get if it's attached to the ground. Kosval ha-mechuber lekarka, Tolsho, he'd written it when it was attached to the ground. Then he detached it, Chosmo, and he signed it, V'noslo, and he gave her, kosher. It's valid. Now, why is it valid? The Torah says, V'kosa v'chosa, V'kosa v'nosa. Kosla sefer krisus, he writes for this writ of termination, of divorce, and he gives it to her. That means there's no interruption between the writing and the giving, right, or the signing and the giving. So if, let's say, kosav means writing the get, and he wrote it when it was attached to the ground, and then he detaches and gives it to her, it's a problem, because he had to do an act of detachment before he's able to give it to her.
It's the ability to give.
It's the ability to give immediately.
Right. So
the ability, see, he wasn't able to, because he first had to detach it, and only then. But if the Torah says, if the kosav means v'chosam, the Torah is not speaking about the writing of the text. It's the signing of the witnesses. So if he wrote the text while it was attached, detached it, it's not a problem. Because when the Torah says v'kosav, it means v'chosam v'nosam. From the time you sign, there should be no interruption between the signing. You should have the ability to immediately give it, which he does have the ability to immediately give it. So that's a remeir. So l'chatchila, preferably, you shouldn't even write the text on the one when it's attached. Because what happens mistakenly, you actually put the witness sign while it's attached. So it's offense. You should not write the get when it's attached, because you may sign it when it's attached. And if you sign it when it's attached, since you have to do an act of detachment, there's an interruption between the signing and the giving. So that's the Mishnah. And kosen al mechubri, you should not write the get when it's attached. Lekarka. Kosu al mechubri lekarka, if you had written when it was attached to the ground. Tolsho, when he detached it. Chosmo, subsequently he had it signed. Nosla kosher, it's valid. It's a valid get. Rebbe Lozer, who do we attribute this mission to? Could it go like, could we attribute to Rabbi Lozer, Ksiva boy, Ksima lo boy? It cannot be attributed to Rabbi Lozer, this anonymous Mishnah, because Rabbi Lozer says, when the Torah says v'kosav, what does it mean the get should be written? It means literally the text of the get. So if it was written when it was attached, and he had to detach before he gave it, if that's the case, the get should not be valid, correct? So therefore, it can't go, we can't attribute this anonymous Mishnah to Rabbi Lozer. V'chi teimo, la'olam Rabbi Lozer, maybe we can. V'chi lo boy Rabbi Lozer chasimo lishmo midoraiso. Midrabanon boy. Maybe Rabbi Lozer says, one doesn't have to write. We're going back to our Mishnah. Rabbi Lozer, we showed from here that Rabbi Lozer is of the opinion, kosav means it should be written, not the chosav. So according to Rabbi Lozer, what should the shliach say? B'fonei nechtav. Nothing more than b'fonei nechtav. Of course, Torah is not speaking about the signing. But the Mishnah says he has to say b'fonei nechtav, b'fonei nechtam. Right? Not only the writing, but even the signing. Maybe on a Torah level, the get has to be written lishma. Torah is not speaking signed, but rabbinically, we say not only does the get have to be written lishma, it has to be signed lishma. Why? Because we allow a witness to sign shlo lishma, and since it's an integral part of the get, they may actually come to write the get shlo lishma. So as a fence, rabbinically, the signatures have to be lishma, because otherwise we're going to have a problem with the writing. That the sofer mistakenly may believe that it does not be written lishma. Okay? Maybe Rebbe Lozer would agree to this. Rebbe Lozer is arguing Meir on a Torah level. Midoraisa, only the writing has to be lishma. But rabbinically, we say not only the writing, even the signing. It's not signed lishma, there's a concern it may not be written lishma. So therefore it's a rabbinic fence. No, that definitely cannot. That doesn't go. Okay? Maybe you would say L'olam Rebbe Lozer v'chi lishma b'doraisa. On a Torah level, it doesn't have to be written signed lishma. Midrabanon boy, rabbinically, it has to be written lishma. It has to be signed lishma. Mercer can't be. Vo shloshi gitten psulin drabanon. We find the 3 gitten that are invalidated on a rabbinic level. V'lo boy Rebbe Lozer chasim lishma. From here, it's indicated Rebbe Lozer holds that you do not need chasim lishma. Even rabbinically, did not. What's the Mishnah? Gimel gitten psulim, the 3 gitten which are not valid, which means if this type of get is given, another get has to be given. Vim nisis havalat kosher, but if she should marry and have a child, although the get is not a valid get rabbinically, and we would not allow her to continue to be with the man until another get is given, the child is not illegitimate. Because on the Torah level, the get is a valid get. It's only not valid rabbinically. What are the cases? Kosa b'ksav yodo. The husband had written the get in his own hand. Ain't all of Adam. They know Adam. Okay? It's not simple. I mean, we have a principle. It would be good or no good? Would not? I mean, to create a marriage or terminate a marriage, you have to have minimally 2 witnesses. We could all attest it's him. Therefore, what? But you have. Wait a second. Rabbi,
you wouldn't say who does father marry here?
No. I mean, seemingly you would, but it has no application here. I'll explain it. Later, Tosfos has a question. It says, Rabbi Gamliel enacted that every get should have witnesses on it, even according to Rabbi Lozer. Although Rabbi Lozer's Eidim Masira Karsi, that the Eidim, the signatures, the Eidim who sign a get are not the witnesses that give the get its viability, its value. It's the witnessing of the transfer from the husband to the wife. That's Eidim Masira, right? So, but yet, in the Tikkun Olam, for the best interest of the woman, he says every get should have witnesses, even according to Rebbe Lozer. Why? Because what would be if the witnesses should die or go overseas, and the husband should claim, I never gave him that piece of paper? How do we know it's a viable get?
The witnesses that he gave in front of.
Correct. The witness that he gave in their presence.
Not the ones who signed it.
No. The witness he gave in their presence.
Right.
So therefore he says, so what do we do? We have witnesses who signed the get. So if they sign it, we know that it was given. So Tosfos asks, but how do we know it was given in the presence of witnesses? According to Rabbi Kalatsky, it's Edi Masira Karsi, that what gives the viability to the get? It's witnessed by witnesses when it's given from the husband to the wife. How do we know that it's a valid get? Good, we know witnesses signed it, but how do we know it was witnessed, the transfer was witnessed? How do we know that?
Can you say that it's always done that way, so therefore you...
Wait a second, wait. I want you to hear the question. What you're saying is correct, but I just want to get the question to bring out this point. So what's Tosfos asking? Because even though we know the get is not a forgery, but how do we know it was given in the presence of witnesses? Because what gives the get its viability? That we know it was given in the presence of witnesses. It's not something we have afterwards. So Tosfos answers, what Ernie's saying. Tosfos answers that if their Eidim signed on the get, that means the husband definitely gave her the get. But that's not sufficient. Husband giving her the get. Right? Let's say we know factually, according to Rabbi Kalatsky, the get was signed, and the husband gave the wife the get. And there weren't witnesses. Rabbi Kalatsky says it's not a valid get. Because the get was not, even though we could say with certainty, the get was given by the husband to the wife. The get's not valid, according to Rabbi Kalatsky. Right? Because it wasn't given in the presence of witnesses. So why is it valid? Why, according to Rabbi Kalatsky, is the presumption that it's valid? It is valid because we could presume, we could say with certainty that with witness signed on the get and she has it, the husband definitely did it correctly. And what is giving a get correctly? It was given in the presence of witnesses. So what's the Anansadi? Not the Anansadi. We could all attest the husband gave her the get. That's not what we're saying. That it was given correctly in the presence of witnesses. So you have to have the witnesses. The witness is the one who give viability to the get. Without them, if it's not given in their presence, it means nothing. Doesn't make a difference. So the basis for the presumption, almost the definite presumption, is because the signature is on the get. So that means this is not a forgery. This definitely was given by the husband to the wife. And if the husband gave it to her, he definitely did it correctly. And what is giving it correctly? Gave in the presence of witnesses. But let's say we know he did not. Let's say in fact we know he didn't. You can have all the witnesses on the document. It's not valid. So my question is, a ksav yad, even though it's written with his own handwriting, but if what gives a get its viability is you have to have al pishnei made from Yochim Dover, you have to have witnesses. Factually, it's not. So we know he gave the get. It's no different than the witnesses on the get, and we know it wasn't given in the presence of witnesses. It's not valid. So why is it valid over here? We only disqualified, invalidated rabbinically. It should not be valid on a Torah level. That's the difficulty. Okay. We'll get there. So the first case is we invalidate rabbinically is ksav yad. It was written by his handwriting. What do you want to ask? Want to ask something? Okay. One second. Yeah, that's nothing to do with it. Kosel means lishma. Yeah, but that's not sufficient. It's two separate things. Kosev means, according to Rabbi Kalatsky. Yeah, but Edi Masira, he still says in the Edi Masira. What in Edi Masira? Because they Davar Shemer post Mishnayim.
Right, so he's writing a Ksav Which reason
So our question is, why is it valid? There's no Eidim given it. It's not being given in presence of witnesses here. That's the question. If there are no witnesses, why is it valid? So we can all attest that he gave it. Therefore what? But there are no witnesses.
So Rabbi, he says he gave it, and she says she received it, and there were no witnesses to the transfer. But everything else was 100%.
It's not valid. It's not valid. Not valid.
Why?
Because since it's a Davar Sheberva, the only way you could affect a marital status, it has to be done in the presence of witnesses.
How do we know that?
This is because it says Dover. It's a Gzera Shava. Right? That's Gemara. It says Kimotz be'eres Dover. He found some in. She says Al Pishnai made him Yokah Dover regarding monetary case. Mm-hmm. So just as monetary to establish fact, you need two witnesses. Regarding marital status, you need witnesses. You need two qualified witnesses. Otherwise, it's not valid. Right? That's the Gemara Kedushin we had.
The marriage can take effect without two witnesses.
No, cannot.
The man with the beer and all that.
No, but it has to be witnessed. The witnesses are outside, and he says, I'm going to consummate the marriage. I'm going to do an act of cohabitation, and through that I'm marrying the woman.
And he didn't do that.
It's not
He's
valid.
living with her.
Nothing. Well,
He's not.
again, so that's what we spoke about. If you have under the chuppah, for some reason the witnesses weren't valid, and it's an observant couple. So since we say, the person doesn't live within a context of marriage, in the context of promiscuity, so his interest it is to live with his wife as man and wife as the Torah prescribes. So therefore, that's a mitzvah. So when he cohabits, it's within a context of mitzvah. And since people know the living together as man and wife within the context of man and wife, therefore the public knowledge is the equivalent of witnesses. The public being aware that the living is man and wife, that's the equivalent of witnesses witnessing the act of cohabitation. Well, that's Rav Moshe. Rav Moshe's leniency. What about if they're not observant at all? They're not Shomar Torah mitzvahs. It's not a valid marriage. Although we know, because it's not within that context, it means the woman does not need a get. It's better to have a get, but if you're not able to get a get, the woman's permitted to remarry without a get, according to Moshe Feinstein. Okay?
If the couple separated through divorce, the man gave her the get, it wasn't witnessed, the get was properly written, signed, etc., no witnesses. But they've been living apart now for 10 years.
It's nothing.
It's public knowledge.
Let's not make it as complicated as you.
But Moshe would say...
Wait a second, wait. People were married properly.
No, I'm saying just...
Wait. They were married properly. It's two separate things. And now they haven't been living together for 60 years. And after 60 years, she has relations with another man. She never received the get. Is it adultery?
Sure.
But they've been separated for 60 years.
No, but that's...
Because there was nothing terminated, you need a termination.
I'm saying...
Nothing terminated the marriage. That's the key. What terminated that relationship? The only thing terminated that is that document. Now, what gives viability to that document? If it's witnessed, if it's not witnessed, it's the document has to be given. Here, what's being witnessed is they're living together as man and wife. That is being witnessed. That's what gives value to the act. That the act is an act of kedushin. Here, what terminates the marriage? Witnessing the act, the transfer of that piece of paper with the information on it. There were no witnesses. So if that's the case, it's irrelevant.
So, we say that sometimes a single witness is believed.
Not in this context.
No, but if everything else is right except that last transfer didn't take place.
Correct.
There's no way that we can...
No, it cannot.
She says, he says...
It's irrelevant. He says, she says. It's irrelevant. That document had to be witnessed, what it was given from him to her, and it was not witnessed. That transfer was not witnessed. We spoke about a case, the ring, right? Man gives a ring to his wife, and witnesses are watching, and as he puts the ring on his finger, they're distracted. And they turn their heads, and a moment later, they see the ring on her finger. It's not a valid marriage. Because they did not witness the act of marriage itself, the putting the ring on the finger. But it couldn't have gotten on her finger unless he gave it to her. They searched her, she had no ring. This is the only ring, and it can be identified as the ring that he was holding a moment before. They actually have to visually witness the act of putting the ring on her finger. That's the act of kedushin. So what Ksav Yodo? Because when we look at it, there's no question he had written this. But who witnessed the transfer? And Rabbi Loza says it's valid. No, right, the Ksav Yad. No Eidim. No.
It says it.
We'll
There
see.
aren't any Eidim on the
I know.
document.
Cause Ksav Yoda, ain't no Eidim
On document.
on the document.
Right.
Correct.
But according to Rabbi Loza, you don't need Eidim on the document, except as the Rabbah.
We'll see. Let's see in a moment. Yesh lo Eidim, Ve'bo Zman. The witnesses, but a date was not put into the document. Was not dated. Rabbinically, it's not valid. Yesh bo Zman, Ve'bo le'eid echod. You have a single witness, but you have the sofer written to get. So we have the hand sofer, and you have, so that's the equivalent of 2 witnesses. Shloshim psulin. These 3 get the psulin. Then this is havalat kosher. If she should marry, although the get is not valid rabbinically, havalat kosher, the child is a legitimate child. Although there are no witnesses, it was only given in the presence of witnesses. Kosher. So the Tana, according to the Tanakama, right, the anonymous opinion. Rameir says, what gives viability to the get? You have to have witnesses in the document. If there are no witnesses signed on the document, it's not valid. Rebbe Lo says no. Even though there are no witnesses on the document itself, just an ordinary piece of paper with the information, it's valid. And not only that, you're able to collect from lien properties, which we'll discuss later.
It's solid. It's a solid document.
It's considered viable. Because factually everybody agrees we do have signatures on a get. Even Rebbe Lo agrees that we have such a thing. That's only for the best interest. It's for the betterment of the world. Because later, if the husband should contest that he never gave it, and she had written it herself, and we're not able to locate the witnesses who witnessed the transfer, because they either died or they went overseas, by having witnesses on the document, that tells us that it's not a forgery, that it was given by the husband, and the presumption is when the husband gave it, he gave it correctly. That means he gave it in the presence of witnesses. If it has no witnesses, it's not valid on a Torah level. It's not valid.
No witnesses.
According to Rameir, witness does not sign on the get, even though the transfer was witnessed, has no value whatsoever. Not, why can't it so be a witness?
It can't be a witness, but let's say, what about the case where the husband's not sure and he puts it in his drawer, right? In other words, he's unclear as to whether he's going to give the get or not, right?
He goes, look, what do you have to do with the
The fact that Sofer wrote it, and then he counted him as a witness.
So deal with it. What complicated? You have a get written, the husband has a get, when he's ready to give it, he's going to give it. He puts it in his drawer.
Yeah.
Is that get a valid get? It was written, he met every criteria of a get. But again, if we say the sofer itself is the equivalent of a witness, because his handwriting can be identified his way, so you have 2 witnesses. Okay. But again, this is not the subject matter right now. Ella Rameir. So we have to say the Mishnah one like Rameir. Go ahead.
In the case of Rabbi Gitten, like when we say that it contradicts Rabbi Elazar, this is B'diavad, if it was given in front of 2 witnesses opposed to it, and it's fine. But I feel like it should be signed.
Again.
We brought this as a contradiction to Rabbi Elazar. It cannot be Rabbi Elazar's opinion, right? Because
He says,
three
without witnesses, it's 100% valid get. It's only in the best interest of the couple that you should sign it. But the get is a valid get, even if you have no witnesses on it, as long as it's given in the presence of witnesses. So, see, clearly, so the Torah is the Torah speaking about signatures, even on a rabbinic level.
Maybe.
He says you don't need signatures.
But you know, that's exactly.
So what did they have to say? B'fonai nech? If b'diavad you don't, so what do you have to say? B'fonai nechtam. According to Rabbi Lo, there's no such thing as nechtam. According to Tanakam, it gets posel. According to Rabbi Lo, it's kosher.
Right.
So even if you don't say nechtam, it's a valid get.
But we brought it as a contradiction to Rabbi Eliezer.
Not good.
No.
Maybe Rabbi Lo says rabbinically it's not valid unless you attest the signatures. It's not valid. So we're saying it is valid. So right now the Gemara understands that if he says you need none, even if you have them and it was not lishma, it will also be valid. Later the Gemara is going to say differently. The Gemara says it's true. If you don't have them whatsoever, you don't need them. But once you sign them, they have to be signed lishma. That's what the Gemara is saying in Daf Dalet. So what are we saying? So who's the Mishnah? We're going to attribute the Mishnah. Reb Meir. Rameir is Eri Chasima Karsi. So, Nechtam, there's no question. What about Nechtav? Okay? El Ramehi. V'chilo boy Rameir Ksivu Dishmo. When does Rameir say, at what level does Rameir say, we don't require the writing should be done Lishmo? Midoraisa? That's on the Torah level. Midrabona boy? Rabbinically, you have to write. It has to be written Lishmo. For the same reason. Because we're concerned you're going to confuse the writing with the signing. If you're going to write the get shlo lishma, there's a concern you may sign the get shlo lishma. Therefore, rabbinically, it has to be written lishma. So therefore, the shliach has to attest to the fact not only was it signed lishma, it was written lishma, rabbinically.
It means that it has to be written on something that's detached from the ground, according to this. According to our mayor, and we're saying that it can't be written on a tree and then separated and signed.
That's Tosa's question before. Tosa asks a question. According to Rameir, right? Tosa is going to ask that question. Is Tosa, we've been learning it? Ask the question. We're only concerned about Lishma. What about the detachment? Right? Seemingly we're not concerned about that. Okay? So right now the Gemara wants to say, so who's the Tana before the Nechtav, before the Nechtam? It's Rameir. Nechtam, that's Doraisa. He has to attest to its validity. That it was written Lishma, it was signed Lishma. That he has to testify that it was written Lishma, that's rabbinical. And if not, it's not valid. Omer Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman had said, Omer hoy Rameh afil motza ba'ashpo, v'chosmo, v'nosla kosher. Rav Nachman quotes Rameir saying that even if you find it in the trash, with all the information, identical information what this man needs, all he has to do is just sign it Lishma, it's a valid get. But if you tell me rabbinically, it has to be written Lishma because of the confusion between the writing and the signing, how do you take it out of the trash? Rabbinically, it's not valid. So what do you see clearly? Not l'chatchila. This is l'chatchila. Afilu motz ba'ashbo, v'chosmo v'noslo kosher. Take top Tosis. Okay? Alex is an expert in Megillah and Kedushin, up to a certain page. Okay? So it's clear the Mishnah cannot go like Rameir. Because Rameir says here, you can even take it out of the trash. So it's not possible to say the agent nevertheless has to attest to the writing that was done Lishma. Maybe that the Rameir says you can take it out of the trash. That's on a Torah level. But rabbinically, you cannot, because we're concerned of we're going to confuse the writing with the signing. Yochi, Omoy Rameir, Dvar Torah mi boile. So when Rav Nachman quotes Rameir, in what context should Rameir make a statement? On a Torah level. He should say, on a Torah level, if you take it out of the ashpo, out of the waste can, and you want to sign it, it's valid.
How do you say it?
Midoraisa. Omoy Rameir, Midoraisa, fil motz ba'ashpo chosmo kosher. Midoraisa. But rabbinically, it's not. You're not permitted to do it. And if you do it, it's not valid. Because we're concerned of the confusion between the writing and the signing. So the Gemara says, if that's the case, Rameir should say, right, Dvar Torah mi boile, on a Torah level. But rabbinically, you cannot do it. And since he does not say that, it's clear Rameir holds that the writing, rabbinically, does not have to be done Lishma. And we're not concerned about the confusion. Rameir makes a statement. If you take a get out of the waste can, you can do it. Is that the rice drabonim? Seemingly, if he doesn't make a differentiation, it's clearly even rabbinically you're permitted to do it. That's what we're saying. And if you want to say it's limited it's only on a Torah level, so let him say that. He doesn't say that. So since he just it places in any situation, okay. So we're back to we're in a bind here. Who do we attribute the Mishnah to? The Mishnah says the shliach has to attest to the lishma on the writing and the signing. It's interesting. I mean, you would think we should be concerned about the confusion. If the signing has to be done lishma, And we say, and the writing is not. Shouldn't we be concerned that a person will confuse the write with the signing with the writing? If the writing does not be lishma, evidently it's clear. We're not concerned. The question is, why are we concerned?
It's two different people. The writing and the signing is not the same person.
No, once the scribe writes together, he wrote it for Ruvain. Now Shimon takes it out of the waste can and has it signed. He instructs the witnesses to sign on his behalf. You know, he authorizes them to sign. That's lishma. So they sign it for this particular couple. So it's valid. But don't you think we should be concerned? If it wasn't written lishma, let's be concerned it won't be signed lishma. When you normally sign a document, does that have to be signed lishma? It doesn't have to be signed lishma. You do have to sign it lishma. No, writing not. But I'm asking, why isn't he concerned that they'll be confused?
When you're in Hayek, there's certain gravity that you're not going to. I mean, it's like we said, it's almost like document testifying.
Because it's written by a professional, that's why he's not concerned. It's written by someone.
So the way I understand it is, a document without witnesses is what? It's nothing. Has no value. So therefore, it's understood, witnesses who give validity to the document and give meaning to the document, they make the difference whether it's a piece of paper with information or it becomes viable. So therefore, that's why you need lishma. But initially, when it's just information does not be done lishma. People, you don't confuse the two. I'll give you an example. Now today, you could have a check, which is, the signature is also computerized. Right? At one time, sometimes they want an original signature. They don't want, the text could be whatever it is, printed, but the signature has to be original. Right? The signature, because the signature, that's what gives value to anything we speak about. So then people don't confuse. The other is text. I'll give you an example. Later we speak about this at what we call the tofes and the torif. The information that you write in the get, there's essential information and there's non-essential information. What happened in non-essential information is what is written not lishma. And the essential information is written lishma. The torif is the essential, the name of the husband, the name of the wife, the date, and the location. But there's other information there. And I'm divorcing you. It's like non-essential, periphery information has to be written. It's called the tofes, what you call the boilerplate. So there, because that's not the essence of the get. See, even since it's not the essence, it doesn't make a difference. Because Tosa has a question earlier. Let's say the shlich would say, "B'fani nechtav," on the tofes, not the torif. It's not valid. See, Tosa has a question. The Gemara says, according to Rava says, "What do you have said for b'fani nechtam?" It's to substantiate document that it's not a forgery. Right? So Rabbi says to Rava, if that's the case, you should only say before nechtam. Only speak about the signatures. Why do you speak about the writing? Right? That's Rabbi's question to Rava. So clearly it must be, it's the lishma. Because if it's only to substantiate the document, they should only say before nechtam the shliach. So what does Rava answer? No, Alec? We had it before. The more answer is because otherwise it will be confused with what? With the regular situation of substantiated document. Normally you need two witnesses. Over here, one witness is sufficient. So by differentiating between the get, because here not only do you speak about the signing, you speak about the writing, so people will not confuse a get with other shtoros, other documents, when you certify them. Normally you certify a document through two valid witnesses. A get, even a single witness. And how do you know how to make that differentiation? Because normally in substantiated documents, you only substantiate the signatures. Here, the shliach has to attest to the writing, right? That's why Eid Echad is sufficient. People will not confuse the two. So Tosa asks a question. So he quotes Gemara later. It says, whatever he says, "V'nei nechtav," on the tofes, on the non-essential part of the document, not the toref. And he says, "V'nei nechtav," on the tofes, nechtam on the signatures. It's not valid. It's not a valid statement of the shliach. Tosas asks, but if the whole issue is not to confuse one with the other, why isn't that sufficient? That's Tosas' question of Gimel and Aleph. You have the question?
No.
if whenever we discuss the writing, that's enough not to confuse it with regular certification of documents. So why, when the shliach says the non-essential information was written in my presence, which you normally don't say by a regular certification of a document?
Talking about regular stuff.
Regular stuff. You never discuss anything about the writing.
Right.
But it says, if the shliach says, I witnessed the writing of the non-essential information. According to Rabbi, why do you say that? Why do you have to talk about the writing? Not to confuse certifying the get with other documents.
Right.
But yet, the halach is, if he only speaks about the non-essential information, it's not a sufficient statement. But if its whole issue is not to confuse the two, why is that enough not to confuse it? That's Tos's question. Moshe, you hear the question? So Tos's answers, because the non-essential information has no value because you don't have to even address that. It's something which is totally superfluous. See, if he speaks about the Torah, which is essential, so something which is the essence of the get, then we won't confuse the two. But if he speaks about, let's say he says, by the way, the weather will be such and such. That's what he ascribes to the get. It was written on a day that there was a snowstorm. It has nothing to do with the get. The non-essential information, that's not the essence of the get. Therefore, it's not considered sufficient not to confuse the two. It has to be something which he's testifying to the writing of the get. What is the get? The get is the essential information, not the non-essential.